All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is April 12th. We're going to be jumping into some MLB action today. We're going to go through each and every game. I'll give you my lean on the game. We'll talk about the total, all that good stuff. But my final plays, what I ultimately end up rolling with, will be in the pinned comment, and I update that throughout the day, always in by game time. Last night, we're coming off of a winning, positive, positive day. We go 3-1 with 2+ money plays in there. We had the Orioles run line for +115. That cashes. The big one of the night, Marlins money line. Cash that, baby. And then we had the Mariners taking on the Cubs over 9.5. The Mariners pretty much did that themselves the entire game. And then the one that surprises me, when these first three hit, I was like, oh my God, we're going on a 4-0 sweep tonight. The one that surprises me is the Dodgers. The Dodgers money line is what lets us down. They lose that game 5-0. Look at the juice I was paying for money line. I didn't even want to pull the trigger on it. -154, and that's the one that lets me down. Yikes, but we'll take the 3-1 night. Do not get me wrong, especially hitting 2+ money plays in there as well. One more little cha-ching, all right? Cha-ching. We got to bathe in it when we get the opportunity, but it's nice to get back in the win column. We had a bad night 2 nights ago, and then, or 3 nights ago, and then 2 nights ago, we had kind of a middling night. It's nice to come back with a little bit of a bang there. But guys, go ahead and smash that like button. That like button, it's a meatball right down the plate, all right? Right down the plate. This pitcher thinks you stink, but you know you got the power. Boom. Oh my God, you just hit it into another stadium, guys. Smash that like button and let me know what you're feeling about today's slate in the comments down below. And let's go ahead and jump into the first game. Only if you hit that like button though. Did I already ask you that? I don't remember. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into the first game. We got the Pirates taking on the Astros. Pirates +152 here at home on the money line. Total is sitting at 9 runs. Yesterday's game, Pittsburgh takes that win 7-4. This Astros team has been definitely puzzling me. Pittsburgh is 7-4 on the season, right? Astros 5-7 on the season, yet still they're -161 here. Now I get it, pitching changes every day in the MLB. I keep getting comments being like, Ev, it's not just about trends in the MLB. I'm not saying it is, but offenses hurt offenses from day to day, and when you're not scoring a lot of runs, it is very interesting to read into that and to realize, okay, this Astros team is kind of like a roller coaster. So regardless of pitching, they're not a very consistent offense as of right now, which tells me that the value today is going to be Pittsburgh +148. I think the Astros win this game. I really do. Quigley on the mound for the Astros, Hill on the mound for the Pirates. I don't really like Rich Hill, so I am going to lean towards, I am leaning Pirates just for the money aspect, but I do think the Astros win this game. Now, the money line for the Astros is -161, which is what I really like about baseball betting. Even if I think the Astros are going to win, I'm not considering paying that juice. And then even their run line, -1.5, is -110. Neither one of those numbers interest me. So in terms of a lean, I am going to look at Pittsburgh and only Pittsburgh. Does it become a final play? I don't think so, but keep an eye on the pinned comment. Hopefully you guys do understand that. And then in terms of a total, we have 9 runs here. I do like the over in this game. Again, yesterday, even with the inconsistent bats of Houston, Pittsburgh scores 7 and Houston scores 4 and hits that over fairly easily there. In their first game, I think it was 8-1 or 8-2, meaning they cashed the over here as well. All right, moving on, we get the Mets taking on the Padres here. Mets -105 money line here at home. Total is sitting at 8.5 runs. I do think that this Mets team, I kind of like them today. Miguel on the mound for them. He's a 1.6 ERA, 2-0 on the season. Blake Snell, who is better than he's playing, is 0-1 on the season with 7.8 ERA. I just think there's a lot of value here with the Mets -105 at home on the money line here. Yesterday, Mets lose this one. San Diego's 4-2. I can't see the Mets only scoring 2 runs again. They scored 5 runs in the series opener here. They won 5-0. I like that. I think that's going to return to order. I'm not saying that they shut out the Padres. I do like the offense of this Padres, but I am going to lean towards the Mets here. Money line. And then in terms of a total 8.5, I think this one goes over. I've even seen 8 on some books as well, but they're strong 14-mile-an-hour winds. Meteorologist Ev, remember that, right? 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right field here. I do think that we're going to see a couple home runs there as well. Again, we're leaning Mets money line, and then in terms of the total over, we've seen neither one of these games against either these two teams so far in this series go over, but I do still like it. Guardians taking on the Yankees here. Guardians on the money line here, minus 101 at home. We don't have an updated line on the graphic, but minus 101 money line at home. They're not underdog. They're not favorites, so they are underdogs. Yankees are minus 116. The total is sitting at 9.5. Yesterday's game, the Guardians take that loss big time, right? Big time. Yankees bounce back from what happened in was that game 1 of the series. Guardians win 3-2. Then Yankees come back and win 11-2. The Bats got it going for sure. Smith on the mound for the Yankees, and then Banfield on the mound for the Guardians. I think this is some good value for the Yankees here. Minus 116 money line is something that I'm definitely considering. In terms of the total 9.5, I do think that's a little bit of an overreaction to what happened, I guess I could say, yesterday with the Yankees scoring. I think this one sticks under that 8.5. I just don't necessarily think that it's 9.5, excuse me. I don't think that this is the type of game that the Yankees go in there and score 11 runs again. We saw this Cleveland team still 3 runs and 2 runs in this series thus far. Unless the Yankees are going to score 10 runs, I don't think this one goes over. All right, Minnesota taking on the White Sox here. Minnesota heavy favorites at home, minus 165 on the money line. Total sitting at 8.5 right now. Minnesota wins 4-3 last night. And then the game before, Chicago wins 4-3. We were on the under in that game, and that was a win for us. Cisse on the mound was in that first game, and then on the mound for the White Sox in that second game was Lance Lynn. Now getting the start here is Gelato. Definitely didn't say that right, but you guys know I can't pronounce anything for crap. And then Sonny Gray on the mound for Minnesota. I can handle that pronunciation. Minnesota 7-4 on the season. White Sox 5-7. I do think that they have this money line pegged pretty well. I think this is a big game for the Twins here. In fact, I'm considering their run line at plus 125 for some good money there. I think this is one that they kind of open up. Now, does it go over? I wouldn't necessarily say it goes over. I'm still thinking this one is like a 5-3 or 5-2 type ball game. So when I say open it up, I'm not saying it's going to be an absolute Minnesota show out there, dinger after dinger after dinger. No. But I do think Minnesota wins this game by 2 runs at least. And then in terms of a total, like I said, we're going to be looking at an under. All right, we got Chicago Cubs taking on the Seattle Mariners here. Cubs underdogs at home right now, plus 102 on the money line. Total is sitting at 10 runs. In terms of what happened yesterday, this is the game that we had the over in, and I'm glad we did. It was a 14-9 game. 14-9 game. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Seattle was winning that game by plenty for the first few innings of that game. And then all of a sudden, Chicago was like, click, 28 hits combined between the two teams. A lot different than their first game of the series, which was a 3-2 win. I think that this is obviously a spot where Chicago has an upper edge. Even though they're underdogs, I don't really love that. I think that this is a great spot for Chicago and some value today. Marcus Stroman on the mound for them. He's 2-0 on the season. Gilbert on the mound for the Mariners at a 3.6 ERA. I think that this is a great spot for Cubs money line. Pretty heavy lean to them here, unless something jumps out at me in my research throughout the day prior to game time. But I do like what I see from the Cubs here, one, a money perspective, and then also how they've played in both of these games. They were showing resiliency yesterday, and they showed in game 1 of the series that they can grind it out and take a win. So I like Chicago here plus the for plus money at home. And then in terms of a total, I do think that this one ends up going over. And I might be overreacting to what I saw yesterday, but that was just too many runs yesterday to think that these bats aren't feeling themselves and they're not going to each score like, I don't know, 6 runs today. So I am going to lean towards the over as well. All right, the Rockies taking on the Cardinals here. Rockies plus 160 at home. The total is all the way up at 13 runs. I mean, it does make sense. This series has obviously had plenty of runs scored. 7-4 in the first game, 9-6 in the second game here. They've split thus far. I do think that this is going to come down to a little bit of a pitcher's duel. Urena on the mound for the Rockies, and then Jack Flaherty on the mound for the Cardinals. I'll take Flaherty any day of the week, at least so far this season. So I'm going to lean towards the Cardinals here. Run line. I don't think this becomes a final play, but I just can't see a world in which the Rockies can keep it close today. I did like this Rockies team at the beginning of the season, not so much anymore, but that run line, the only thing that's keeping me off of it is the fact that it's minus 127. I don't like laying a run and a half in baseball at that type of a juice, but I just can't trust, a game earlier in the series when I was leaning Pittsburgh, right, plus money. That's because I think they could win the game. They've shown that they could. I know Colorado takes takes that first game of the series here, but I don't think that they're as good as this Cardinals team. So I am going to lean Cardinals run line. In terms of a total 12.5, this is another one I think you just got to prove to me. 13 is actually the total, 12.5 at the lowest on some sportsbooks. I think they're going to have to prove to me that they can score that many runs yet again. Now, I know they've proved they can score that many runs. Do not get me wrong. They did it yesterday, I understand. But this is the biggest line we've seen all year long for the MLB. Let's see what happens with it, okay? Before we end up going and taking it. I'm not saying it's a lock to hit the under. I just don't want to be the first one to jump at a 13 total and be like, rah, rah, they're going to hit the over, and then there's 6 runs scored in the game. All right, Milwaukee taking on the D-backs here. Diamondbacks plus 129 at home on the money line. Total is sitting at 8.5. This Milwaukee team is puzzling me because, we wanted to take them as underdogs a couple days ago. Wade Miley was on the mound for them. Gallen was on the mound for Arizona. And then I leaned that way yesterday. Didn't make it final play, and they blow them out 7-1 there. Burns was on the mound. Kelly was on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Jameson on the mound for the Diamondbacks today, and Junk on the mound for the Brewers. This Milwaukee team, I'm going to lean that way. Minus 139. I think they proved that they can do it. And I do think that, minus 139 is right on the brink of not paying, an unforgivable amount of juice there. Once it gets into the 140s, I am very tempted to stay off of it, but minus 139, I think we can take and swallow. And then in terms of a total here, 8.5 runs again is what we're looking at. I think this one actually stays under. All right, the Phillies taking on the Marlins, which I should bring up that we are posting our Nerfies no-run first innings here on YouTube, and man, oh man, we've hit 5 in a row. 5 in a row on the Nerfies here. We had some hate comments yesterday when I was like, oh, we hit 4 in a row, let's make it 5. And someone's like, yeah, but you missed the first 2 of the season. All right, buddy, and you missed a lot in your life if you're that salty. But guys, make sure you're checking those out. We are also doing them over on TikTok as well. But here we go. Phillies minus 185 at home here on the money line. Total is at 8 runs. I've seen it at 7.5 on plenty of sportsbooks as well. Yesterday, Miami takes this win. This is another one that we cashed for plus money. Again, this is our biggest play as of yesterday. So I got to figure out if I'm going to do it again or not. Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies, and then Cabrera on the mound for the Marlins. Plus 173 is the money for the Marlins. I do think that has some value there, but what I'm actually liking is more or less than anything is going to be the over in this game. I think that this game, very, very, like I said, you can get at 7.5 on some sports books, a very low number. And I do think that we've seen that at least one of these teams is going to put up runs in the series that we've been playing. In terms of a side, I guess I'm going to lean Miami. You can tell by my voice, hopefully, that I'm not all that confident in it. Just because they won for us yesterday does not make me think that they're going to win today. That wouldn't make any sense, but I don't like the Phillies minus 188. Even their run line is only even money at minus 1.5, and I don't love that either. So I'm going to lean towards Miami here, and I wouldn't lean Miami run line plus 1.5 because both games in the series have been decided by 1,000,000 points. Philly wins 15-3 game 1, and then second game in the series, Miami wins 8-4. So it's not like we have like close games on our hands either. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to lean towards Miami just because the money, their money line. And if we do make that a final play, it'll probably be a half unit. But if we do make that, yeah, I would say that'd be a half unit if it's a final play. But I do like the over here. All right, we got the Nationals taking on the Angels here. Angels minus 165 at home. Total is at 9.5 right now. In terms of their last few games here within the series, game 1 of the series, Washington wins that one 6-4. We did cash the over in that game, but LA bounces back yesterday, wins 2-0, which really makes me question, the total, and I guess I should say the bats of the Nationals. But Ohtani was on the mound yesterday, so I think it makes a little bit of sense why the Nationals weren't able to put up some runs. Gore on the mound for the Nationals today, and then Canning on the mound for the Angels. As much as I wanted to pull the trigger on the over because we did cash that a couple days ago, I am going to look at the under first and foremost here. I think that this probably sticks right around like 7, maybe 8 runs, which is far below what we need for the over there. So I'm going to look at the under. And then in terms of a play, what I do like is going to be Washington run line here. Now, you're not paying that much juice, minus 127 as of right now. But I do think that this game is going to be a close game. More like yesterday than it was, I guess, game 1 in terms of talent separation. Even though Washington wins that game, I do think that there was times that LA could have won that game. But so far, so good in terms of 2 close games. 2 runs decided. Like, it's not like the run line would have helped Washington yesterday, but still, I do think that they're just 1 run away from covering that line. So I'm going to lean Washington here, plus the 1.5 points, and like I said, the under. All right, Baltimore hosting the Athletics here. Baltimore minus 180 at home. We cashed their plus money run line yesterday as a final play. Total is 8.5 as of right now. I'm just going to lean right back to Baltimore run line here, minus 1.5, because the A's have not shown a single person in this entire world that they can play very good baseball. Do you remember like the night 2 of the MLB season, we cashed a money line like plus 200 on the Athletics? That was before I really considered that they stunk out loud. Okay, so I'm gonna lean towards Baltimore, even though I think Oakland was winning like 7-6 at one point, and might have been late in the game, I forget, but I was like, oh my god, how are the Orioles gonna do this? They win 12-8. So this Oakland team is just tough right now. I'm going to lean Baltimore just by default, minus 1.5. In terms of a total, that was kind of surprising to see how many runs Oakland scored. We hadn't really seen that offensive explosion out of them. I think that they carry that momentum into today, and we do see some more runs being scored. So surprisingly, I am going to look at the over here as well. Kramer on the mound for the Orioles. He's got a 10.12 ERA this season. Waldichuk on the mound for the Athletics. Got that name right, didn't I? 14.5 ERA on the season with an 0-2 record. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Boston. Tampa Bay minus 135 here at home on the money line. Total is sitting at 8 runs. Yesterday, Tampa Bay wins this game 7-2. We did hit the first game, which was a 1-0 game, the only game this season Tampa Bay has won by less than 2 runs. They are 11-0 on the season. Chris Sale on the mound and Bradley on the mound for the Rays here today. I think this might be another run line play for the Red Sox. I think that with Chris Sale on the mound, they do ultimately end up keeping him close. So I'm looking forward to that. I do think that we've seen some close games with Chris Sale against the Tampa Bay in the past here, and we saw him look decent. I would say look decent, right, against the Tigers a couple nights back. He did get the win there. No decision in his first start. Obviously, that was against Baltimore. He didn't look all that great, but against Detroit, I do think he looked decent. Now, Detroit isn't the Rays. I can give you that one, but I still nonetheless lean towards the Red Sox run line. In terms of a total, this one I did go back and forth on. It's 7.5. Now, why is it 7.5 for a Red Sox team that's shown that they can clearly score plenty of runs, right? Now, they have had a couple lackluster games, but Tampa Bay for sure. So there might be something that Vegas knows about this game that we don't, but I think it's a slam dunk over, if anything. So that's the way that I'm going to lean, but maybe I'm the dummy in the room not realizing something. All right, moving on, we get the last few games of the slate. We got the Toronto Blue Jays hosting the Tigers here. Blue Jays minus 260 at home, total sitting at 8.5. The only thing that I would consider is Toronto run line, but they're minus 135. So quite honestly, that makes me go and lean towards Detroit. But again, these are just mathematical leans, guys, when I go and do that. Like when it doesn't make sense to take anything on Toronto, I'm going to tell you guys, all right, well, if I don't think there's value in either Toronto side, process of elimination, plus 240 on Detroit for money line. I don't think they win this game. I wouldn't make that a final play, but that is going to be my lean. And hopefully you guys understand that thought process, because that would be like a half unit or a quarter unit type play anyways, right? Because it's such good money. I don't need to throw a bunch of juice into that, because odds are it doesn't hit. Hopefully that does make sense. The strategy has been working this season thus far in the MLB. And then in terms of a total, I am going to take a peek at the over here. I'm not all that confident in it, but Toronto's definitely going to have to carry their weight. Game 1 of the series was yesterday. I don't think that was the first game of the series. Toronto wins that one 9-3. They carried their weight to hit the over, but Detroit did not. So if it's going to be a Toronto game, and it's going to be the, I guess the over will hit, but I don't really love this game at all. All right, Atlanta taking on Cincinnati here. Strider on the mound for the Braves. Green on the mound for the Reds. The Braves here, minus 255 at home. Total is at 8 runs as of right now. The Reds almost got the win yesterday, but Atlanta squeaks it out 7-6. Both games have been decided by 1 run here in this series, but I do think this is the game in which Atlanta most likely blows this one open. I'm going to lean towards Atlanta minus 1.5 on the run line. In terms of the total, though, this one I went back and forth on. I think this is an over. Again, I'm only looking at this from a perspective of 8 runs. We've now seen a couple games where these two teams, make that number look fairly easy to hit. 4-5 in the first game, then 6-7. That's what I'm basing it on. So I'm going to lean towards the over here. I had Rangers taking on the Royals here. Rangers minus 161 at home. Total is sitting at 8 runs right now. Yesterday's game went about as you expect. Texas wins 8-5. It hit the over. They did cash their run line. And then game 1 of the series as well, they won 11-2. So far, I would say that there's decent odds in terms of the money that you're getting to. Texas run line plus 118. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for them. Brad Keller on the mound for the Royals. I will take Eovaldi in this spot. I'm going to trust him and back him. So I'm going to lean Texas here, run line minus 1.5 for plus 118. In terms of a total, I think this one just, you have to bet the over right now based on how many runs Texas is scoring, right? So I hope Kansas City can carry their own weight and Texas doesn't have to go and drop 9 runs themselves. But we've seen Texas score 1 million runs this season. So I feel comfortable leaning the over. And then the last game of the slate, we have Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers going against Alex Cobb on the Giants here. Giants plus 152 at home. Total is at 8 runs right now. Yesterday, like we already talked about, the Giants win 5-0. First game of the series, LA takes 9-1. I think with Kershaw on the mound, I do think that there's a good chance that this Dodgers team comes out and reacts to their loss yesterday. Now you're getting even odds on the run line. I don't totally love that. This might be another one where you have to pay a little bit of juice. So far, these Dodgers games, in terms of run line versus money line type money and odds that you're getting, it's been very, very tough. They're putting the Dodgers at like minus 150-ish and then not paying really enough for their run line number. So this is another one, minus 162. I can't even fathom paying that much juice, but I don't totally love the run line odds, and I am big time on the Dodgers today. So I might have to, swallow my pride and take juice that is that crappy there at minus 162. In terms of a total, I think this one ends up going over as well, just ever so slightly, like very, very slightly. It's 8 right now. I could see this one being a 9-run game. But that is all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys do enjoy the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's stay hot in the MLB, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.